Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Can't Deposit Excuses podcast. Super excited today to have this guest. He is a man of many talents. Not only does he work in the financial industry, he does some other things we're going to get into and has a little bit of history, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So welcome to today's guest, Ernie Chandler. Ernie, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, man, and coming out here.
Yeah, so this is going to go down in history. This is our first on location episode. So when you and I were talking about today, I was like, well, we're going to make history today because we're going to actually come out and film this episode and record it at your offices. Which, by the way, we have this spectacular view and all these windows. I mean, really doing it up pretty big today.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. So let me ask you, obviously kind of led a little bit into this. So just for those that don't know, Ernie is a loan officer with OVM Financial. He's kind of the guy that runs it over here in Roanoke. But I wanted, before we get into like what you do now, I wanted to go into a little bit of your backstory. So the one cool thing that Ernie does that a lot of people don't know, Ernie has done a little bit of acting in his day, and he has an IMDb page. Now, there's not many people that I meet in the Roanoke Valley that have an IMDb page. So when you see that, hey, this guy's big time. So tell me a little bit about that, Ernie. Tell me a little bit about that backstory of like how you got into the acting piece. And I don't know if you use that in your everyday life now or not, but I just think it's a cool story. So I wanted you to share a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, I use it some, when people are interested, but it was cool how I got into it. I was in the mortgage business for about 10 years, and then we got hit with a crash back in around 2009. And so then I had to look for something else to do. And some people would give up or whatever, but I decided, no, I've got to feed my family. I got to do something. So I went to work for Channel 10 and started selling advertising for them and kind of, got into it and, enjoyed the creativity and everything like that. And, started, writing some of my own scripts and, doing some voiceovers. And then I had the opportunity to be in a few commercials at Channel 10. And so, it was good experience, and it kind of helped me realize that, there's other cool things to do out here. So I saw it as maybe like a hobby or something. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I had this agent that somebody had told me about. She's in Portsmouth, Virginia. And, somebody said, all you got to do is just send your picture down there. And, since you've done a few commercials, you can, have a little resume sort of and send it to her. And I said, okay. So I sent it down, and it was like I didn't hear from her for like 6 weeks. And I thought, she's probably not going to call me. All of a sudden I get a phone call, and she's like, hi, is this Ernie Chandler? I'm like, wow, And she's like, yeah, we're interested if you are. And so, I it was just really cool, because I'd never been approached by an agent before, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, you got agents calling you. You're like, okay, this is getting real quick.
Yeah, so it was just something that just happened. But yeah, I mean, I've done TV shows with, like True TV, and I've done stuff with, Discovery Channel. I've done a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, you can go to imdb.com / I think it's IMDb me / Ernie Chandler or something like that. Or you just search me on there and you can find me. So it's pretty cool to see some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff you've done. So one of the ones that was pretty funny that you did was Liberty Tax Service? Was that the one that you did?
Yeah.
You don't want everybody to know. He doesn't want everybody to know about the funny ones. He just wants you to see the serious, like where he's on there. He's like doing the ID discovery, and all that. He's like, you watch that one. Don't watch my funny ones. But nah, you did a really good job. So obviously they knew talent when they saw it. I mean, they saw the talent inside of you. They couldn't help it. Well, that's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a great hobby, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, coming back to the mortgage industry, you brought up earlier, you were in this business back when, the financial crisis happened. I mean, obviously things have changed, but I'm sure that time was probably a really difficult time to be in the business because there was obviously a lot of pressure, and the world that you had lived and experienced completely got flipped on its head. I started a business in the midst of the financial crisis. Opened up my insurance business that I have in 2009. So like literally right at the height of all of that stuff happening. I just watched a documentary last night on YouTube. It was, I think, a Vice News HBO documentary about Hank Paulson and all those guys. They were trying to figure out like what to do in the mortgage-backed securities and derivatives and all that. What was it like to live through that, to be in the industry during all that period?
Well, I just remember, things being really good for a good while, and, back then there was a lot of what they called subprime lending. The subprime kind of gets a negative, vibe to it, but, we were able to help a lot of self-employed people back then, whether it be a bank statement program or someone who had really, really good credit, but just didn't show all their income on their taxes, but you could see their bank statement, see the income's there, or you could see receipts from their business where, you could clearly see that they were making money. So they had some stated programs, things like that. So, it was, and that kind of became my niche for a while, working with business owners and helping them get loans that they couldn't get at the bank, So being able to do those kind of things, and then we had some 100% financing for first-time home buyers, maybe fell outside the normal FHA or conventional boxes. So we had a lot of good stuff, and but it just kind of all came to sort of a screeching halt. It's that, to go from having your livelihood, this is what I do each day, to like nothing.
Yeah.
And of course, I say a screeching halt. We went through a period of maybe about 6 months or so where different lenders were going out of business. So they had like a list of lenders that they called it the implodometer, and which was kind of crazy.
You didn't want the company you worked for to be on the implodometer list.
Exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't fun, but you'd get up every morning to check the implodometer and see if your business was on there or not. So, fortunately, I was, I kind of had navigated around. I was with a company there towards the end called Accredited Home Lenders, and they were one of the last big subprime companies to go down. But at the end of the day, I still lost my job and got laid off with probably several hundred people across the country on one phone call.
That's horrible. I know I own shares of Countrywide Financial and Angelo Mozilla, and I watched that stock price just precipitously fall until it went all the way to nothing, and my shares were worthless. And I had owned those well before the financial crisis because Countrywide, they were one of the biggest. I think Bank of America ended up buying them out eventually, but they were one of the biggest lenders in the country, and they just went completely under as a result of this.
Yeah, and they had a lot of those stated programs, a lot of those out of the box, even some out of the box conforming and programs as well and stuff. So it was they were a big company like that goes down, something's wrong.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the thing. You talked about how those programs can be utilized. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and I know the story and the history, and I've done it myself of trying to get a loan as a business owner. It's not always the easiest thing. If you don't have that perfect W-2 income, you get basically looked at and scrutinized, especially now in the post 2009, 2008 financial crisis world. We obviously know it's a lot different now, completely different. But back then, you had adjustable rate mortgages, you had balloon payments, but you also had these loans, like you said, which if they're used properly for business owners to try to help them get a loan because, like you said, they had the income but didn't necessarily have it in the correct format on a W-2, then obviously that can be a good thing. But I guess what happened was the greed took over for some, and they were called liar loans a lot of times because people would just say whatever, and nobody did any checking into the bank statements or what their income was, and it kind of blew it up for everybody, I guess.
Well, yeah, that I would say some of that probably affected the insurance business too, as well, didn't it?
Yeah, AIG was one of the big insurance companies at the time, and they were actually insuring these mortgage-backed securities. So for anyone that doesn't know the history of the mortgage crisis, basically Wall Street was taking all these mortgages and they were packaging them together. So instead of an investor buying, say, Ernie's mortgage and saying, Ernie's probably a pretty good risk, they were taking, 5,000 mortgages and packaging them together and slicing and dicing them. So it wasn't even like you didn't even own like 100% of person A's mortgage. You owned 20% and another 20% someone else owned. And the companies that do the Moody's and the AM Best and those companies, they were giving these securities basically like A ratings, AAA ratings to some of these, and they weren't really good securities. They weren't securitized very well. And AIG, of course, famously or infamously underwrote basically insurance contracts to ensure that these things, basically the investors wouldn't lose money, which is why investors are like, okay, so you're going to sell this to me, then I can get insurance against it. And the insurance is going to guarantee that these things won't go down. And I believe during that time, Bear Stearns was going to go under, and famously they came in and gave $30 billion to bail them out, and they kind of thought, okay, we may be crisis averted. And then shortly thereafter, AIG needed $85 billion to be bailed out. Right. And even worse, after they were bailed out, they had a contractual obligation to provide, to basically provide bonuses and trips to these salespeople, because contractually they had said they were going to. Right. And so here's this company that the taxpayers just bailed out to the tune of $85 billion. And these people are out on, I think they spent $400,000 as a company on golf and trips and all the rest. Because I remember the insurance company I worked for at that time, if you won a trip that year, because the publicity was so bad, guess what they did? They just said, nobody's going on a trip. You won it. Yeah, the company I worked for at the time, you won the trip. You're supposed to go, but because it would look so bad, and this company I worked for didn't take any bailout. I mean, AIG was really the only insurer that I know that really got, and there are people that don't know AIG. They're one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. So yeah,
I remember something about that.
Yeah. It was bad. It was real bad. But obviously, you fast forward and you get out of that. But I'm sure during that time, or even shortly thereafter, I mean, what was it like once you realized, okay, like this mortgage gig is up? It had been good for so long. Like, what was that like coming out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just sitting there in my house one day. I'm like, I'm done. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, like even if, like say you change companies one time, like, from one mortgage company to the other, and you were trying to get ramped up from one company to the other, you still had loans going at the other place. Mm-hmm. So you were still getting paid. But I mean, I literally went from getting paid to not getting paid, like, maybe one last check or something, you know what I'm saying? But it was over, and so you're sitting there like, well, what do I do? Because you're used to making pretty good money. I mean, I'd worked my way up pretty good, and all of a sudden it's over. So, I find it interesting, your podcast, you can't deposit excuses, right? Yeah. I was in one of those moments where I could start making excuses. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. What do I do next? But I went ahead and I'm not one of these people to give up. Mm-hmm. I've done many different types of jobs. I've done everything from deliver bread to, sell vacuum cleaners when I was really young to, to do mortgages, and then I decided to go into, like I said, the advertising business. Now, it's kind of weird. I just told my wife, I said I was looking at jobs in the paper, and I saw where they were hiring a sales rep. And I told her, I said, that looks like a job I could do. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. I said, I think I could do that. And I said, I think I'm going to work for Channel 10. And she's like, well, you haven't even talked to him yet. So I was like, yeah, but I said, I'll work it out. I said, I just need to go over and talk to him. And I said, they'll hire me. And she's like, yeah, that's crazy. I was like, yeah. I said, well, she says, you don't have any experience in that. She was just, not trying to talk me down. She was just nervous for me. Like, is that the best foot forward, I guess, because, not everybody just says, I'm going to do this and do it, But that's what I did. I went over and interviewed with them and got the job and learned a lot about advertising. And of course, that's one thing, you don't realize it then, but you do something like that and you learn all that stuff. I use it now in my business now.
Oh yeah, you've definitely done a great job with your social media and different things that you've done, and obviously you can tell some of the lessons learned from the advertising world you were able to carry over and bring those over when you got back into the mortgage industry. But I think you touched on something really, really important there when you were talking about not sitting around. If there was ever a time where you said I could make a ton of excuses and just kind of wallow in self-pity, now's the time to do it. But I think another thing, the Can't Deposit Excuses podcast, one of the things we're trying to get at, and while we talk about these things and kind of dig into these, is just to talk about, I'm sure at that time in 2009, like that's about as low as you've probably ever felt. And I mean, that's a time where you've got two options. And one option is to stay there and sink lower and lower. And the other option is to figure out, okay, well, what's my next move? And for you, that next move was pick up the paper, look in it, and you found something that caught your eye. But also you had the one key ingredient, confidence, which you got to be you got to have some self-confidence and say, you know what? I'll figure it out. You can't wait for someone else to come in and rescue you because there's no cavalry that's going to ride in and make it okay. Like, you've got to be the one to kind of take ownership and say, all right, well, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go on this interview. Your wife's like, are you sure?
Well, the funny thing is my wife still laughs at me to this day. She sometimes, like, if I'm trying something new that I haven't done before, she has a nickname for me. She calls me PowerPoint. And the story behind that is, like in the ad, it said, it's listing all these things you have to know to do the job. Well, one thing on there was PowerPoint. Well, in the mortgage business, we didn't use PowerPoint. We used Excel a little bit, like to do a little spreadsheet here and there to keep track of our loans, or, we had our mortgage software, but we didn't use PowerPoint. I mean, what was that? You know what I'm saying? And it was still fairly new at the time. But, she said, did that come up in the interview whether you knew how to use PowerPoint? I said, sure I did. I said, the guy asked me if I knew how to use PowerPoint. I said, sure, I can use PowerPoint. And I pointed at him like that. And I made him laugh. So,
you're like, I'll figure it out. I'm sure I can learn it, but
well, I just told him I knew how to use it.
Yeah. Look at me, I'm pointing. It's pretty powerful. Watch how I do it. Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome. Well, how long did you do that for? I mean, obviously, you did the advertising world for a while. Like, that was something you do, because the mortgage industry kind of stayed down and was kind of sunk for. I mean, people don't realize now it just seems so foreign, especially anybody that's come of age in the last 10 years that didn't really live through that. I mean, I'd say anybody that's in their late 20s, early 30s, maybe they recall it obviously because it was happening, but it's just in the last few years that the business really turned a corner. But there for 3 or 4 years, it was kind of touch and go. So how long did you do the advertising thing for?
Well, I did it for about 3.5 years, and this was kind of another thing that happened to me. I got in that business, and my first full year in the business, I made it into the 100,000 club, where all the top salesmen were in that club, and I said I want to be in there with the other top guys in the office. I did it through just selling new business, just going out and hammering, selling $5,000 here, $2,000 here. I mean, whatever I could do to get up to that 100,000. Mm-hmm. These other guys had some much larger accounts than me, but I got in there and fought. And I did that for actually the second year too, and then the third year my business got a little less. I think I did about 62 in new business. But I could see a trend that the TV advertising was going down at that time. Mm-hmm. And of course the economy still wasn't great. It hadn't recovered great from the housing crash. Mm-hmm. And so every year that went by after that, you could tell the economy was depressing more. So I realized it was time for me to move on from there, because I was working on straight commission, which was another crazy thing my wife thought I did, but I did very well. But so somebody told me about a job at Cox Business, so I got on with them, and I worked there for about 6 years, and really learned a lot about technology, which is another thing that's helping me a lot more in my business now as well. So it's kind of funny. It almost feels like I never stopped, because I picked up some new things along the way that could help me in today's world of technology. The mortgage business has changed so much since I was back in 2009, right? But a lot of the changes are in technology. They're in media, things like this. And I've learned the only way you connect with people out there so they can get to know who you are, or at least initially get to know you, is through the internet, through Facebook, through YouTube, things like that. So, with that in respect, I mean, I'm just really thankful that I took some initiative and didn't get down on my luck, and I tried new things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's so important for people to whenever they find themselves in the positions, like, what else do I like? What else can I do? What else can I learn? You know what I'm saying? And so I think that was really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's always important. When you're facing some adversity, the first thing that you can do if you want to try to dig your way out of it is become a little introspective and look at like, what can I do to improve myself? And, I'm sure when all that first began, you had no idea where the advertising career was going to lead you and where Cox was going to lead you. But obviously every step of the way, you're learning new skills. And the more skills that you have, the more things that you have in your toolbox in terms of abilities and knowledge. If you do that correctly, you can actually leverage those skills and that knowledge in other facets of your life, or come back. In your case, you kind of came full circle and came back into the mortgage industry, in which case, now you've got all these additional tools in your tool belt that, like you said, 12 years ago, when the first collapse happened, you didn't have that knowledge base. You didn't know anything about this stuff. And I think it's kind of also interesting, talking about advertising in the years after the financial crisis. I'm sure that was kind of a difficult business to be in as well, because obviously companies and businesses are trying to get lean. They're having to tighten their belts. Times are tough. Money's tight. And, a lot of companies probably are like, well, I don't want to spend a bunch on my advertising budget. But at the end of the day, if you want to grow and you want to grow your business, you're going to have to make sure people know that you're out there. And it kind of transitioned when you went to Cox, because obviously the days of television advertising, it still works. And you just saw one of my ads last night. We were chatting about it earlier. But I still use a lot of other media. So whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcasting, obviously, there's a lot of different medium out there. I think the coolest thing that we're in right now, and maybe you'd agree with this, is just the power that the individual has to kind of get their word out. We just have a megaphone right now like we never had in 2009. You didn't have the ability to kind of blast your message and, like you said, connect with new people. It's a lot easier. It's easier now than ever, even though...
Cheaper too.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely cheaper. But I think, during COVID, that's one thing. You don't have as much face-to-face interaction. You don't have as many people that you can meet one-on-one as you used to be able to do. But you have this thing that's in your pocket, a smartphone, and you have these computers. And if you use the technology right and leverage it correctly, it can do a lot for you to help you, kind of reach new heights to success. I think you'd agree with that.
Oh yeah, today we're using some fancy equipment here. I appreciate you guys bringing this out. It's very fancy, but.
Only the best for you.
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm in a radio studio or something, but right here in my own office. But this is awesome. But yeah, man, you can take something as simple as this device here. It's got a little hole here that picks up voice, and you can. I've got a tripod over there. You can put that on there, and you can make video. You know what I'm saying? And then it's really just up to you as to what ideas you come up with, and how the message you send.
Absolutely.
And how the more effective, the better. So, as far as how you put it together. So,
yeah, there's more power in a cell phone than was on, more computing power in a cell phone than what was on the Apollo missions to send a man to the moon. People don't realize how powerful that device can be. But really what's powerful is the ability to connect with people. Because I think you and I have talked about this before. People don't buy from a company, so to speak, at least not now. I think now more than ever, that's the one thing that's changing in the marketplace of ideas and the marketplace of business is this idea that, people buy from you as an individual. I think who you are as a person and who you are as an individual is more important now than ever, because we're able to kind of peek behind the veil. It's kind of like, the Wizard of Oz type curtain has been pulled back, so to speak, and people really do want to know, who are you? What are you all about? Is this just an act, or are you really a guy that I can depend on, or a gal that I can depend on to help me in my life or help me get to the next level? And a lot of people will look at social media, and it does have a lot of drawbacks and negatives. If you allow that part of that world to come into your world, you can have some negative things happen via social media. I was having a conversation with a guy not too long ago, and he was really complaining about his business and talking about how things had kind of been down, and he was talking about his social media, and I followed him, and I said, I follow your social media, and I said, there's just a lot of negativity there. I said, there's a lot of that there, and I said, I think you need to refocus on some positive messaging and not focus on those things. Not that those things aren't important, but I said, what is that bringing into your life? What is that bringing you? Is that bringing you any success? Is that bringing you any business? And the answer is no. I said, it feels good in the moment, but it probably, at the end of the day, go back to can't deposit excuses. It's not going to make any deposits into your bank account. It's not going to help your family. And he was like, you're right. Now that I look back on it, I look at my last, 30 posts, and I'm like, yeah, I need to kind of change, I think that's where it starts. It's up here is where it starts. You've got to have that idea.
Yeah. I think that we all have the capability of being what we think we can be. What we, you have to put things out there in the universe to come back to you. You know what I'm saying? And I find it interesting that you were helping this guy with. I mean, I don't know who he is or how you are connected, but it doesn't sound like you have a super tight connection. But you're still helping him and giving him ideas for his social media. I mean, that's huge, man. I mean, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? To be willing to help people and help them do better is so important. And that's the way we run this office here. I mean, I try to help all my guys the best I can. Whenever they get in situations or they need help with, getting in with a particular customer, agent, whatever, I'm there to help them.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to have that idea at the core of who you are. I think if people focused more on how they can help others and how they can kind of bring others up, the world, kind of like you were talking about, karma almost, the world will return that favor to you in kind, but you have to be willing to go out into the world and say, what can I do to maybe give a piece of advice? Lift somebody up instead of tear somebody down. Bring somebody along instead of push somebody back. And if you're willing to do that, that's going to pay dividends. It may not seem like it in the short term, but in the long term, it does. I mean, in your role now at OVM and what you guys are doing, I mean, you've kind of built a team here of people that basically, you guys all have a core vision of doing that for not only helping each other along, but also helping your clients. I mean, talk a little bit about that. I mean, because you've kind of come full circle from 2009 till now, and I know we focused a lot on kind of the past, but I want to focus a little bit in on, what the present has been like and what you guys are doing, because it's kind of spectacular. Because, I mean, OVM, people may not know about it, but it's an up-and-coming lender in the marketplace, and you guys are kind of at the forefront of it.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came here, I mean, it was pretty much just me. And, we had a little office downstairs, I remember the first time coming to it, trying to open the door, it was locked, the lights were off. I was like, is this our office? But I kind of went in there and started setting up shop, and then wasn't long after that, my assistant Edie came on, and she's just been awesome, man. I mean, just having somebody by your side that can help you get things done, when you're getting overloaded and that kind of thing. And then we just we've just continued to grow after just hiring one person right after the other, and we have such a unique set of talent in our office. We have really good guys, and I'm talking about people that I've known for a long time. Some of them, and it just feels good to, I don't know, it almost feels like we're bringing the old business back together again or something,
Yeah.
And I encourage people that are looking for a good mortgage company to work with that the environment that we have here is very family oriented. I mean, we feel like we all know each other for years. We help each other, and we don't always know the answers to every single question somebody hits us with, but because there's so many things out there, the business changes constantly, it changes every day, but we're willing to find out if somebody has a unique situation, see if we can help them.
Oh yeah. That's the thing about having a team. If you got a good team here, it's like, you may not know it, but Kent may know it, or Gary or Adam. You got all these guys here, and I know the names, and these guys, I mean, obviously you guys are able to lean on each other. It's just like a basketball team. You've got a guy, maybe his specialty is lockdown defense. Another guy, his specialty maybe is he's a 3-point sharpshooter. And another guy, maybe his job is he can get into the lane and get to the basket. And you guys are able to kind of, that's unique in your industry to have a team the way that you guys have it and the way that you guys are able to help your clients. It's not something that you see in a lot of places. A lot of places it's very, they're teammates, but they're so competitive, but they're not competitive like bringing each other along. It's competitive like, I just want to show you up. You guys obviously want to, just like anybody, like say, I got you this month. But at the same time, you're all trying to help each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's important. I mean, because if all of us are doing well, we're doing well for our clients. Our agents are happy. It keeps our ratings good. We get good stars,
good reviews. Yeah,
good reviews. What I was trying to say. And when you've got each other's back, it's so important. It's helping each other and is a huge part of success. It's like Zig Ziglar said, some people may not know who he is, but I've read a lot of his books, and he says you achieve success by helping others get what they want, right?
Yeah.
And I've lived by that regardless of what type of job I've had or what I've done, even delivering bread. If I could tell a guy was struggling getting his truck loaded, I'd help him, put some bread on his truck and help him get finished quicker.
Yeah.
And I might have to stay 5 minutes longer, but he gets out 10 minutes sooner. You know what I'm saying? And we walk out together, high five and see you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And anybody can do this, and wherever they are, make the best of your situation. I see so many people, they take jobs, they're not happy there. Maybe you aren't happy. Maybe you aren't doing exactly what you want to do right now. Maybe you need to put a plan together to do that. But in the meantime, do the best you can at what you do while you do it, right? Somebody might notice you. I've been noticed before for doing things out of, above and beyond, and it feels good, So that's what I would recommend to anybody is to, to do your best at everything you do and try to help other and bring others along.
Yeah, I think having a positive attitude in terms of, thinking about others and trying to kind of bring that along. I mean, we talked about the team aspect and, the people that are surrounding you, if those people are positive people that are trying to bring others along, it's just going to be natural that is going to just kind of breed more of that behavior amongst the entire team. If the people that you're surrounding yourself with, if they always seem like they have your back, you're going to feel a common bond and you're going to try to help them out as well. I think that's really important in the business world, and especially in the world that you guys are in, that, people can sense that. They know, like, hey, this person's got my back. They're really trying to help me along. They're trying to kind of take me to this next level. They're trying to build my business, or they're trying to help me accomplish a goal. I mean, you guys every day are dealing with people that are maybe wanting to buy their first house. Maybe they're trying to get a loan for the first time. And, I'm sure the first time you speak to somebody, it's not always a pretty picture. I'm sure there's some people where it's like, hey, listen, before we can get you into that house, we're going to have to clean up some areas in your credit, maybe some bills that have to get paid off, some things that need to be done. But I think that's something people need to realize. People like you are willing to take the time to help people because you want to see them be successful. I think a lot of people get scared and they say, well, I don't want to talk to someone like Ernie because I'm not ready yet. I don't have the credit. I don't have all the things that I need in place. And it's like, well, you know what? It might be a good idea to speak with someone like you so you can kind of give them a game plan. Just like you were saying, people in their life, if you're not where you want to be, you got to come up with a game plan. I use the analogy all the time. Like, look, I know to get to California, I drive west, and I'd eventually get there, but it's a lot easier if you have a roadmap. I mean, you have the ability from all your years of experience to give people a roadmap of, hey, I can explain to you exactly what you need to do to get to where you want to be, and maybe that goal is home ownership. Maybe that's where they want to get to.
Well, a lot of the agents I work with, they'll have clients call, ask about a certain house, and they'll say, well, we really like this house. We're not sure if we're ready yet. And, they confidently refer their clients to me and say, look, just talk to this guy. You're not obligated to do anything, but, if he can figure out a way to help you get this home, let's do it, and they'll call and, I have people, sometimes they think they have to save up 20% to be able to buy a house. You don't. I mean, there's programs out there, 5% down, 3.5% down. In some cases, if you're a little bit lower income, and you can qualify for 100% financing.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways to buy a home, that people don't even think about, and that's what we're here to do, is to help them. So
I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, people have this misconception that, it's because people have read things or their friends have told them things and they're not necessarily certain as to, what the process is. I think it's important that people who aren't sure of the process to speak. I can tell you, me personally, I'm somebody that's always looking into investment properties and things like that. And for the longest time, I said, well, you've got to have 20 and 25% down. And how do you save that up? And how do you do this? And it's like, there are lots of podcasts out there that you can listen to. Obviously, I'm on a podcast. I also consume them. They're obviously very interesting to learn things. But things like the BRRRR method, buy a house, rehab it, rent it out, refinance it, take the money back out of it, go buy your next one. It's like, that's how people do that, because no one can save $40,000, buy a house, wait 10 more years, save another $40,000, go buy another one. Yeah. There's multiple ways that these things can be accomplished, but you got to talk to the right people, and they'll walk you through, hey, look, if you're wanting to do this is how you need to think about it. If you're looking to buy a house, hey, these are the programs that are out there. I mean, I think Isn't there like a FHA program that maybe some people that if they have the right income and it's the first time home buyer, they can get like 3% down. I mean, there's all kinds of programs that exist out there in the world. Yeah, people just have to be open to them and just know what's out there and know how to work it. Information is powerful. I mean, this whole episode, we've kind of talked about your journey and all the things you've learned along the way.
Been a long one.
It's been a long one, but a lot of things learned along the way. But I think it's important also that when you have somebody like yourself here at OVM that has that background, that has that knowledge, that understands, this business because you've been in it for a very long time, don't hesitate to, rely on somebody like that, to lean on them. Ask them some questions. It doesn't mean you have to do something right that moment, but you can at least set the groundwork that maybe, in 2 months, 3 months, whatever, you'll be ready and prepared. And I think that's really key. People need to use the people that are in your circle, your sphere, and they may not know you, but obviously from this podcast, they may find out about you, but also, their realtor may say, hey, look, you know what? I got a guy you need to talk to. Be willing to be open to those conversations and don't just automatically dismiss opportunities. I think the biggest thing that people need to be open to is new opportunities, and never hesitate to, be available for a door to possibly open, for you to walk through that door, or at least check it out and learn new information that can help you in your life. I think it's key.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is I've noticed we have an online app now, because I've noticed that people like to apply online. Mm-hmm. And rather than applying some big, lender that's, nationwide lender, and you don't know who you're going to get stuck with as your loan officer. You may like him, may not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've heard tales of that person works with you a little bit, and then they transfer to somebody else, and and you can't get in touch with the people you originally started with. You know what I'm saying? We have the same process in place where they can apply online. Okay, ovmquickstart.com is where they can go, and they fill that out, and and that gives them a chance to go through and, like, on their own, even late at night, whenever they have time to do it, put their information there, sit back, pull their bank statements together, see how much money they have. Put it in the system as an exercise. That information comes to me, I can review it, and I can say, okay, let's see what these people want to do. Then I can call them back after I've kind of seen all their information. And then I can say, well, look, you look good here. Here you need to do this. But it gives me a better roadmap, because if someone just calls and I don't have all this information, it's a little harder to kind of give them advice.
Yeah, if you're going to be the doctor and you have a patient, it's nice to kind of have some ideas to what the symptoms are and get a little bit of background information so you kind of know what you're working with. Right. I think a lot of people fall into that trap of thinking that the only people that offer the ability to online apply for a loan or a refinance or whatever are these big national corporations. And I'm not going to say any of their names. Some of them like to shoot to the moon. We'll give some hits. But the reality is, if something starts to fall apart, if maybe they don't know the market the way the local people do, like, who the players are in the market, who the home inspectors are, who the appraisers are, who all these different people that they may need. They may need a termite inspection. It may show some issue and they have to have some mitigation done. And who they should go and reach out to because you've lived through that. You're using some company offline that you don't have any experience with. I mean, I deal with this in my own industry. People go online and it's like, well, yeah, you can do it online. The problem is the person that you're speaking with, all they're concerned about at the end of the day is getting your deal closed, because once that deal is closed, you'll never hear from that person, speak to that person, or see that person again. Right. You are this is your backyard. This is your playground. I see Ernie out and about at restaurants and different places. You're going to run into these people. So at the end of the day, it's more important for you because your reputation means a lot to you.
It means all.
It means everything. Yeah. That's everything. So the last thing you want to do is do somebody in a way in which they're going to be upset, or do something that's not going to maybe be in their best interest. So I just feel like working with local people, number one, it keeps money in the local economy. But number two, these people actually are going to look out for you more than you realize, because at the end of the day, it's their name at stake, and they want to earn your business, not only your business, but they want to earn maybe your friends or your relatives' business. So doing a good job is paramount. And I just think a lot of these other national companies, it's more of a volume game. It's just they get a steady influx of stuff off the internet or off the 800 number calls. And so as a result, how much hand-holding are they really going to do? How much customer service are they really going to give? And the answer is, well, not too much, because as soon as they get done with you, there's another line of 1,000 people where that phone's just going to ring or that email is going to come in. And it's just a totally different world.
Well, a lot of people don't realize too. I mean, we're just as competitive interest rate wise and everything else as they are. I mean, I as many times I've beat interest rates from some online quote or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, it's going to go either way. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're within an eighth or a quarter of a point on the rate, you're talking about a difference of $10, $12, maybe $15 a month on your payment. Yeah. I mean, is it worth to pay $10 more a month to work with someone local that can do a good job for you? And I mean, if it really means that much to you, we still might even be able to get rid of that $10. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's hilarious to see somebody shop me over that amount of money.
Well, the other thing is people don't realize how many loans have you seen, and any realtor, almost any realtor will tell you how many deals on a new purchase they've seen fall through because somebody used an online lender and they're told that it's all a go, everything's ready to go, we're ready to rock and roll, and it gets to the day of closing and, oh, well, we need this or we didn't get that. And it's like, whoa, I thought we were good to go. And then, of course, the deal falls through and it doesn't happen. And it's because, you know what? That person's doing 1,000 loans in that call center, and at the end of the day, you're just a number on a spreadsheet. They didn't pay close enough attention, and your deal fell through all as a result of that. So, like I said, I think you talk to realtors, and most of them will tell you, like especially if it's somebody that's wanting to have a smooth transaction. Work with someone local. Work with someone like you.
Well, you guys are local, and that's why we refer to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And because if there is a problem on loan or we need a policy update real quick, I can get a hold of you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I know this sounds crazy, but the main reason we work together is because I can get in touch with you.
There's no phone tree. You don't have to go through 37 phone trees and try to hope that you get somebody and hope that they know what you want. Well, I know we're kind of running long on time. I wanted to ask, and this is something I tend to ask every guest. I mean, we've kind of talked about your story, and it's a cool story. It kind of, weaves in and out from being in the business in 2009 at the depths of the financial crisis to kind of clawing your way out, going through some times in your life where you had to, learn some new skills, but it all came full circle, and now you're back in this industry and having a lot of success. One thing I like to ask everybody as we wrap up an episode is, what does the phrase "can't deposit excuses" mean to you? Because it means something to me, which is why the podcast has this name. But I just want to know, when you hear that, what does that bring to mind? What do you think when you hear it?
Well, it means a lot of what we've been talking about. The fact that, you have to pick yourself up when you feel like you're down. You know what I'm saying? And I can sit at home and say, oh, man, today I don't feel good, or I don't feel like I can get it done today, or whatever. You can make all kinds of excuses, but guess what? Like you said, you can't deposit it. There's no money comes from that. So you get paid by doing what you know you need to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, that's on the surface level. To me personally, I want to be successful in life. I want to be able to leave my kids something nice when I'm gone. I can't take whatever I do with me. I want to help as many people as I can while I'm here, though. And this job gives me that opportunity to do that. Every single person I help buy another house, it helps them with their life. You know what I'm saying? And it makes me feel good when they tell other people about me and refer me so I can help their friends and their family. So it's just, for me, it's a lot of different things. It's knowing I've been there when I didn't know what to do, but I just figured it out, to where I'm at now. I have the opportunity to help people and do a great job for people and help them buy that first home or that next dream home or whatever the case may be. So, it's a satisfying business for me.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many things that you guys are able to help people do every day, from, like you said, buying a house, getting that dream home. Been a lot of appreciation in the homeowners market in the last few years. So if there's anybody out there, you might have a lot of equity there. That equity can be pulled out of the house. Maybe you want to upgrade that kitchen. Maybe you want to send your kids to a certain school and you need some extra money to do it. Take a vacation. Obviously, when the things come out, you want a pool
or a hot tub.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do, and you'll probably never see rates as low in your lifetime as they are right now. So if there ever was a time to do it, this is the time. Well, Ernie, it's been fantastic. Obviously, you and I know each other outside of the world of this podcast, and I can say that you're absolutely a rock star of a loan officer and actually somebody that is looking to get some information on how they can maybe buy their first house or refinance. You'd be someone they should definitely get in touch with. So I just want to thank you again for being a guest, and that's another episode in the books, especially important, the first episode on location in the books. Roadshow, exactly, in the book. So thanks again, Ernie, and appreciate having you. And that's it, guys.